Star Wars Jedi Survivor is a game that Star Wars fans have been waiting for a long time now. It's not only better than its predecessor, but it's probably the best modern Star Wars game we have received in a long time. With an excellent combat system, fun exploration and gripping story, bigger is not always better, but for Jedi Survivor the exception is true. Hello guys, welcome to a new Ace Ice review. Today we're going to review Jedi Survivor. It's a game I have been waiting for a long time now, and I am a massive Star Wars fan myself, so I was hyped for this one. Let's get right into it, shall we? Jedi Survivor is definitely a looker on the next gen consoles. The lighting is solid, as well as the textures and animations. I especially love the big draw distances in the game that you can see from so far away. The mountains are detailed as hell, and that's nice. But there are unfortunately performance issues with every platform, especially the PC version. I played the PlayStation 5 version, so most of my experience was pretty doable. The performance mode cannot hit a constant 60 FPS, which is pretty disappointing. I am not Digital Foundry by any means, so my analyzation is pretty straightforward unfortunately, but I can definitely tell you that the game is not running anywhere close to 60 FPS, with multiple frame drops in busy areas. But these performance issues will probably be fixed in a patch or two, so you shouldn't be worried too much about it. The actual content of the game is really good. Luckily, I haven't encountered any bugs so far either. The game also feels more cinematic, and you can even move the character when speaking in the overworld. It's a small detail, but not a lot of games let you do this type of stuff, so I really appreciate it. The sound design is actually really solid as well. Lightsabers feel and sound impactful, and I especially love the map sound effect that is just straight ripped from the movies, but it gives more immersion for the average Star Wars fan. Despite the dodgy performance, the game runs still well enough, and the overall graphics department is still very solid. So don't be afraid about its performance, it will be patched probably pretty fast.
That's the last of it. You've learned some new tricks.
Jedi Survivor is bigger on every aspect. The world, the combat and the exploration. Let's start with the latter. Exploration is really fun. The game has bigger sized maps than Fallen Order. You have many side paths with secrets to find around every corner, and you will always find some clever mini obstacle or puzzle that you have to solve to continue exploring. The level design is really smart and built in a way that you never have to backtrack too much on various missions. You can find collectibles, puzzles, power-ups and combat challenges, to just give a few examples of the various things you can find in the world. There are also compelling side quests with fun characters that are definitely worth seeking out. There are also new mounts that you can use to explore the world even faster, which is a great quality of life feature. The game does have some heavy Metroidvania elements that can sometimes lock you out a bit too much of exploration early on, so I highly advise that you first do the main story to unlock different power-ups that you will need to explore the rest of the world. The combat system is also improved upon its predecessor. You have new, unique fighting stances and all of them are very fun to use, just like Ghost of Tsushima to give an example or a comparison with. I am not going to name them all in the video because that might be a bit of a spoiler. It's part of the journey to unlock these stances. They are pretty important. The combat is just like a Souls game, but just not as frustrating as a Souls-like. You do have multiple difficulty settings to make the game even more challenging if that is what you prefer, but you also have more easier modes for those that are not familiar with Souls-like combat design to make the experience more accessible to everyone. They definitely increased the enemy variety, and all of them have different weaknesses that you can tackle in a different way. I love it. The force powers are also well used. You can use them in combat, but also to solve different types of puzzles around the world. And because this is a respawn game, there is of course a lot of mobility and climbing and wall running. A lot of climbing. Be prepared to climb as much as an Uncharted game. It might sometimes be a bit too much climbing in my opinion. I could have used some more combat encounters along the way instead of the 10 millionth climbing section, but hey, it stayed fun throughout the whole game. There is also much more customization on the game compared to Fallen Order. You can customize Cal's outfit or BD's electronic parts just as you see fit, or you can customize your lightsaber to suit your preferred style. Keep in mind though that these customizations are all cosmetic and they do not change any stats in the game. You also cannot change your lightsaber color until you have beaten the story, so be aware of that. I do have some negatives that are important to note. Navigation in the game can be a mess sometimes, because there is no minimap to guide you anywhere and the player will be forced to open up the map all the time from the menu, which is quite a nuisance. And because the game is a Metroidvania in world design, it can get pretty confusing where you need to go next because multiple levels tend to have multiple floors as well. This could have been avoided with maybe a minimap or at least a shortcut button to the map to make it a bit less tedious. But that is all I have to complain about gameplay wise. Jedi Survivor is bigger and better in every way possible.
We could build something different. Something better.
She'll sell you out too.
You can't stop the Empire!
I'm stronger now because of the pain.
Such hatred.
The story in Jedi Survivor is actually more interesting than Fallen Order, and Cal Kestis as a main protagonist has really started to grow on me more now in this game. All the characters in the cast are well voice acted and believable in their performances. However, as good as the story is, I would have liked to see a bit more character development from some important side characters, and I do think the final game is a bit too short in its length to develop its characters enough. Some of the dialogue you hear can get delivered in hectic gameplay sequences, and then you can kind of miss important details because you were fighting off a bunch of enemies. These info dumps should be told in a more quieter downtime or cutscenes. But the overall plot was really good, and it's definitely a story that Star Wars fans will be satisfied with. It definitely deviates a bit of the traditional storytelling that you usually see in this universe. You can also expect a lot of new lore that is presented through environmental storytelling as well as audio log-ish pickups that give more backstory to characters that live in this world. In a nutshell, the story is good with some emotional impact, but they could have used maybe a bit of a longer runtime to develop some of its characters. Otherwise, it's great stuff.
The order is gone. I was betrayed by the one I trusted most.
Star Wars Jedi Survivor is a bigger and better Jedi Fallen Order. It improves on a lot of aspects from the first game, and it even has some emotional moments that every Star Wars fan is going to love. There might be some navigation issues in its gameplay and a spotty performance, but Jedi Survivor is absolutely a game that shouldn't be missed by any Star Wars fan out there, or any lover of good sci-fi games. It absolutely hits the right notes, and I am definitely looking forward towards the inevitable sequel. One little side note before I'm going to the score. I'm going to say though that the game is definitely worth it, but I do advise that you do not buy it yet and wait a little bit longer before the patch is out. Wait until the patch is out and that the game runs smoother on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and PC, because I do highly recommend this game and you should play it more on a stable frame rate, but the content of the game is really good and the final score will reflect the content of the game. If I would have to rate it with the performance issues, it would be more of an 8 out of 10 than a 9 out of 10. The final score for Jedi Survivor is a 9 out of 10 with a skill score to 9. So guys, did you enjoy this review, this Ace Ice review? Let me know in the comment section down below. I had a very fun time with Jedi Survivor. It's bigger and better than the last game, Jedi Fallen Order. The next game will probably be Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, the big one, which I will also review, of course, for the channel. I do think that that one will take a bit longer for me to review because it's such a big game, so be prepared for that. There might not be so much content on the channel, but thank you guys for sticking with us. Thank you guys for watching the review. If you liked it, like the video. Of course, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more gaming reviews, and of course visit our social media in the description down below. I also make gaming news on the Get Rekt channel. Subscribe to there, and I will see you guys in the next Ace Ice video. Bye bye.